Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuiki. Coming up.
I think it's a very rare occasion in New Zealand when all parties stand together and accept that a wrong was done.
A historic win for Samoan communities. Meanwhile,
it's not only the villages that are affected, it's also people that live outside the villages that use that part of the ocean.
Samoan locals kept in the dark on the Manawanui cleanup, and later,
the hula girls become the poster child for images of the whole Pacific.
A new documentary dispels myths of Pacific women. A bill to restore entitlements to New Zealand citizenship for people born in Western Samoa between 1924 and 1949 has passed its third and final reading in Parliament. Green Party MP Te Anau Toyono's private members' bill received unanimous support, which means those who were affected can now apply for their citizenship. Grace Fever-Ai was there in Wellington and filed this report.
Samoa, malo sairi malo. Mais Manawanui, hip hip!
That's the sound of Samoan elders singing and crying in praise of celebration of what has been decades of advocacy to fight for the Citizen Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Bill that passed its third and final reading in Parliament today. Over 200 people from the Samoan community attended in anticipation to witness the bill cross over the finishing line. It was a bittersweet moment for former National Party MP Anai Arthur Anai, who has long been in pursuit of a redress for this issue.
Well, I'm elated for both the Samoans and the New Zealand people. And injustice has been fixed to a certain extent. But hey, we've got to be happy about it. When you think of it, I think it's a very rare occasion in New Zealand when all parties stand together and accept that a wrong was done. And so I think we're all rejoicing today that we got a victory for everybody.
He also says he wanted compensation for those affected.
I'm disappointed. I think my initial comment was window dressing with a Christmas present wrapped in a gold paper. But when I opened it, there was nothing there. And what I mean by that is that I did ask for these people to receive compensation of 50% of the New Zealand pension on the proviso they stayed home. They accept their New Zealand citizen, but they stayed home.
For Samoan lawyer Maia Vavisekota Peteru, she says the bill's victory brings back memories of the work led by Anai in 2003 when he visited Samoa.
So today means so much for the work that Arthur Anai has brought from that time in 2003 to Samoa, back to New Zealand, and now, I'm wearing a Cook Island lei to honour that this Cook Island Member of Parliament, Greens Party Member of Parliament, for the very fact that he was inspired to bring this. So today is an historic day. It's a day that brings back memories of those who fought and contributed.
The High Commissioner of Samoa to New Zealand, Awhamasanga Whaamatala Upu Toleafoa, spoke in Parliament. He is among those impacted by today's important legislative change. He says even though it has passed, there is no morale.
I don't think there's an awful lot of them around. I think most of them have passed away. So you're looking at a very small number. They're talking about numbers, but I think the numbers will look very limited. I fall into that category, because I was born within that period. Well, I think a great deal of thanks and gratitude goes to you now.
Tofi Launina Kirifi Alai, head of the Pacific Community Engagement at the University of Otago, is also the deputy chair of the Maua Samoa Ilisitiseni 2024 committee, a movement supporting the bill and its purpose. She says that the bill will end here, but the next generation will continue to fight.
Descendants, there is a way. Yeah, you have time, you can go and fight for it. But at this point, I will take it, and I'm very proud of the Mau and everyone that fought for it, especially our lawyer, Luaman Mau, Katalaina Sapong, who did the hard work. and our researchers. It's about doing the work there. You can't expect anything when you don't do the work. So this is why it's so gratifying. Thank you to everyone that prayed, to everyone that marched, everyone that walked with us in this journey.
A local in Samoa says there's been no communication from the New Zealand Navy with those affected by the Manawanui. The Navy vessel sank after running aground on a reef on the south coast of Upolu last month. Manu Percival told Caleb Fotheringham people are being left in the dark.
It's not only the villages that are affected, it's also people that live outside the villages that use that part of the ocean. There's been little to no communication, no public information website you can go on to or anything. The Navy have set up base in a resort/beach bungalow, which is very far down from where the ship crashed. It's got nothing to do with the village. Villagers aren't allowed into that area. Just generally they're not allowed in before the ship crashed, but just they're not allowed in there because it's hotels and all that. And they leave from there, then they go do their stuff down at the ship, and then they go back, or they drive down and fly a drone out, but park in the empty lot where there's no people. It just feels like it's closed off to the public to go and talk to them.
Can you tell me, is that what everybody's feeling? Is that the feeling amongst everybody that they're not getting any communication?
I can't say that's the general consensus, but I know that communication goes a long way, and I know that if there was communication, at least there'd be some sort of reassurance, like they're not being left in the dark. Because obviously, the people over here are poor, and money, it's a big issue. So that's what they'll be going through their minds, not realizing the actual impact of what happened. There could be quiet communications from the Samoan government to the village, to the high chief of the village. That's cool, but it's not public. I feel there needs to be like a public notice. In New Zealand, if this happened in New Zealand, there'd be an 0800 number set up straight away, and you could ring that number anytime for any questions or queries you may have. The public will be a lot more informed about what's going on.
What's the best way you see that New Zealand could communicate with people in Samoa? How could they do that? You suggested
setting up a Facebook page.
A Facebook page?
Yeah, not that hard. Set up a Facebook page where they can message the Facebook page, English and Samoan.
We're talking about, obviously, the New Zealand Navy. Do you think some responsibility falls on the Samoan government as well to share the information across?
No, the Samoan government never crashed the boat. The Samoan government would be able to help out maybe with the availability of information, maybe, but it's a poor country, a developing country, where they're going to get the money to employ the people to set this sort of stuff up.
Do you feel like the information has always been poorly communicated, or do you feel like at the beginning there was a lot of information being communicated and it's petered off, I guess, as media interest has depleted?
A lot of information that I've heard from all sorts of people is hearsay. It's all hearsay. Very little information. And the way they're set up, so I was there the day after the night it happened, and then the very next day at my friend's house. They set up with the Samoan government in the empty lot kind of next door to where we were, and almost like cordoned off their area, almost like it's don't come here. You know what I mean? We're doing our stuff, and when we're finished, we'll tell you.
New Zealand Deputy Chief of Navy, Andrew Brown, says the Samoan government is leading the community engagement and New Zealand stands ready to support if they need it. He says the New Zealand Defence Force continues to provide regular updates through its own channels and hopes the coverage is being seen in Samoa. In a newly released documentary, Pacific women are challenging stereotypes in Western media. The production Myths and Maidens explores the exoticized images of Pacific women, often seen as dusky maidens, and how it has shaped both the global perception of the region and the lived realities of its women. Tiana Haxton spoke to executive producer Lisa Tauma to find out more.
So Myths and Maidens is a doco that's been about 4 years in the making, and it's for Pacific women. So I created it so that we can validate Pacific women as an audience as well as being on screen. And so the doco looks at the ways that a particular image of Pacific woman is being used as sort of a marketing tool for the region, and what the realities of our actual lives are behind the postcard.
It's a really interesting concept. Could you elaborate a little bit then, what are the ways our Pacifica women are being represented in this postcard view you've mentioned compared to, what's actually going on?
Yeah. For Pacifica women, the issues are very, very different in terms of representation issues. So the doco looks at the way women in Eastern Polynesia particularly, and islands like Tahiti and the Cook Islands and Hawaii, and the very lighter skinned women with a particular look in those islands, and how they're being very, very hypersexualized in imagery, and what the result is of that. And then in contrast to that, we talk to women who are in Melanesia, and their issues are completely different, because in Western narratives, Melanesian women are invisible in that sense, and they're depicted in a really different way, and that leads to completely different issues and consequences. And so it's really interesting having women talk about those issues and what they face and who they are.
This actually brings to mind some classic films and poetry. You have mentioned how the way Pacific women are portrayed in media have consequences affecting how they are seen in real life. Could you give some examples, perhaps, that we can look forward to seeing explored or discussed in this doco?
What the doco uses as its endpoint is the very famous, infamous image of the Dusky Maiden, and how that has become, since the beginning of time, the predominant image of Pacific woman, no matter where in the region you are. That's the hula girls that become the poster child for images of the whole Pacific. What's interesting and what people talk about in the doco is that you can take an image of a Palangi woman from 100 years ago, and that image would have changed many, many times over the years to today. You take an image of a Pacific woman that is created for a Western audience and by Western people from 100 years ago. It is the same. It has not changed. That image still exists. So a lot of women talk about what that leads to, and a lot of Eastern Polynesian cultures, when that's the predominant image people expect to see when they come to these places, often it leads to a rise in sex trafficking. That's led to, there's a whole domino effect of things that happen, because it's about people's expectation of you. Those were interesting conversations to have, but most of the documentary focuses on the amazing things that are the realities of our lives. There's extreme hardship, and we look at things like gender violence in the Pacific for women and girls. We're one of the most vulnerable populations in the whole world, because our gender violence stats are more than double the global standard. There's some really shocking statistics around what women go through in the Pacific. And then we look at, despite all this and despite everything that's working against us in the region, the incredible things women have been able to do and are doing.
Amazing. I can't wait to watch this and see what it all looks like. Finally, what kind of impact do you want this documentary to have on the viewers?
I really want Pacific people to watch it and be aware of some of the belief systems and behaviours that we've had sort of ingrained in us. And a lot of that is about, some of our cultures and the inherent kind of colorism that we have, and we've taken it on ourselves, in our families and things, and how harmful that has been to a lot of young girls and women. I'm really hoping that there's going to be some recognition of behaviours and things and where they came from. But I also want people to celebrate the amazing things in the doco about all the incredible things Pacific women are doing, because I think Pacific women have done amazing things since the beginning of time, but now we're being recognized for it, and now this is going to help. It's helping to shine a light on it. We want to bring these things out into the spaces where they need to be heard and seen. And often they're places like the performing arts. So we show lots of the work of Tusiata Avia and her show Savage Colonizer, and Hot Brown Honey and their awesome shows. And it's shining a light on our creativity, and our joy in those things that I'm hoping is going to have an impact on people too.
Myths and Maidens is available to view on Coconet TV. Tahiti and New Zealand claimed their spots in the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup 26 Oceania qualifiers following their respective victories at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland on Monday night. But it was an occasion that meant more than just a competition on the field for two young players who played on different sides of the field, one for Samoa and the other for New Zealand. As Elias Ator reports, the players were happy with the experience they had and says that this is what the game means to them.
20-year-old Samoan defender Taine Wilson says the experience of marking English Premiership League player Chris Wood was an experience of a lifetime. He was given the task to mark Wood during the Samoa All-Whites Group B clash, which New Zealand won 8-0.
Oh, it was unbelievable. You know, they're a team full of professionals. We're just amateurs on a big stage in Mount Smart Media. So it's just unbelievable for us. And, you know, marking English Premier League Player of the Month, you know, it's just unbelievable as a player and as a person. Just great experience. We knew their quality side, of course, but we're going to make them work for it. Their quality showed in the end, obviously winning convincingly, but I'm so proud of the boys and how we defended and how we played.
On the opposite side was All Whites Marko Steminek, whose Samoan mother was on the grandstand to watch him play. Steminek describes his experience playing against his own Samoan heritage players.
No, it was definitely a special experience for me and my family. You know, walking out and then also hearing the Samoan anthem, you know, brings emotions because that's my childhood memories. I remember being enriched in Samoan culture a lot with my mum's huge family and with cousins and uncles and aunties that, you know, I was around quite a lot. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have my cousins watch me, and I haven't seen them in a few years while I've been in Europe. So, very special occasion and a good result for us on a professional.
Tahiti defeated Vanuatu 2-0 to claim the second semi-final spot from the group, and captain Manawanui says it was a tough win, where they were forced to stick to their game plan, especially as Vanuatu dominated in possession and territory.
We knew that the game will be really hard to play, and so the mindset was to stay calm, focus on what we been training on, and so yeah, we find the solution during the game. So yeah, really happy to go through this game that way.
Vanuatu captain Brian Kaltek says there was a lot of learning for them despite the loss.
Disappointing. It's a lot of facts and a lot of lesson to be learned from the two games, but I think the boys did their best. That's the best that they can do. I'm proud of the boys with the courage that they have to compete in this competition. I know it's not easy, but for the fans as well, and I think we can only learn from this for the future.
Tahiti will now face New Caledonia in the semi-finals, while Fiji takes on New Zealand in March 2025. Both games will be hosted by New Zealand.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.